Good morning, everybody, or good afternoon or good evening, no matter where you are. It doesn't matter. Hello. I am sitting today with a cup of coffee. It was early. It's not so early anymore. The sun is bright, and I'm looking at all these chairs that I definitely want to paint. You've seen the video on it, and if you haven't, go watch it. Got these all for free. Still looking for chairs because I'm going to be using all these because you know all about my chair garden. But here's the problem with my beautiful chair garden that I love so much. We are in the middle of November. And the way I am facing, and not just facing, it's actually, let me back up. We are facing perfect for my chair garden. This chair garden is facing south. Why is this chair garden, my beautiful garden, in no sun? And there it is. The sun is peeking through the trees, and I don't get any sun here for another hour or two. So this garden, you know, going into winter soon, within the next month or so, is losing probably about maybe 3 hours of sun, because it would get morning sun. Now, it gets sun all day until the sun drops through the trees here. So what is going on now, because I'm not planting anything really in here right now, is I do have a little bit of beans coming up. So I've got the beans that I've planted. I've got the tomatoes, which are gorgeous, but they're left over, of course, from summer. And garlic chives, that one's not looking good, but that one got attacked by black fly. And you guys know in England how well, you know, black fly attacks when it gets very damp. I could easily take a hose, shoot off all those insects and get rid of them after a few good washes. You usually can get rid of most of them. But I have had a little Vero come in. It's a little tiny bird who loves his insects, and I see him sitting there eating it. So this has become his stockpile of food for the winter. I'm going to leave it. I have so much garlic chives. I can't worry about that. And you know what? Start getting a little bit drier, warmer weather, it disappears on its own. I don't even have to mess with it. But here I've got a tomato that's been trimmed down, and look, it's making a comeback, and it probably will not grow until, well, probably spring. And so it's going to sit dormant. Got some baby tomatoes there and some lettuce coming up. The lettuce might do something. There's another tomato. The squash is really done, but I'm leaving it. It's not going to hurt anything. Look at this, sungolds. Isn't that gorgeous? So all this is going to be trimmed and catered to and taken care of, because tomato plants are not annuals. Remember that. If you don't get snow, those tomato plants are going to make a super big comeback when it comes to spring. So I can trim this, take care of it, and I'm building my new tomato cage. We'll talk about that more in the spring, and I'll get that going. Now, I've got more tomatoes here. This is leaving. This is strawberry plants. So these are going to be taken out. Those tomatoes are going to be staying. This will be all cleaned up. This is a great tomato, a San Marzano. I'm going to take care of that, string that up better. This is not doing any justice here. I'm probably going to move that. Take care of those tomatoes. But let's back up. Got a lot of stuff growing. I even have peppers. Look at that. Can you believe that? Look at that. I've got peppers in here. And look at all the lettuce. Lettuce, lettuce, lettuce. This is popolo. It's not going to make it. It really likes warm weather. We're getting too cool at night, so eventually the popolo is going to disappear. Hint, I've got a massive one growing in the kitchen. If it gets sunlight and warmth, it loves it. So we're growing popolo right now for Gary in the house. I've never done that before. So going back to this, I have an opportunity of making a winter garden with my chair garden. And if I wanted to, I could easily pick it up and move it. Well, not so easily. I would probably have to take half of the soil out of some of these totes because they can be heavy, which is okay. You can rotate it around. But being that all these totes in here, all these containers are working so well, they're doing exactly what I want. They're draining. Nothing's blocked up. The soil that I created from the gardens with leaves and paper and kitchen scraps is just doing so well. And real quick, look in here. See how it's dropped so far down? See, I've got all that. Really, come spring, let's say February, March, all I have to do is top dress it with a little more leaves. See the squash plant dying back there and the leaves I'm collecting? Top dress it with leaves, kitchen matter, put all that in there, and then any of these I want to clear out, that is. If I don't want to clear them out, I don't have to do anything. Maybe just top dress it a little bit because the leaves give food to the plants. But I can add to it, and I don't even have to take it apart, especially this year. This is what? It's going to be 1 year old in the mid-spring, so there's no reason to take anything apart. Now, I would have to take some of the tote matter inside apart if it wasn't draining, because let's say you put something in there and it created clay and it caked up. If it wasn't draining, then yes, absolutely, I would have to take it apart, at least by the drain holes. You don't have to do the whole thing. Put in new matter such as leaves and stuff from the garden, grass clippings, whatever you want to put in there. Even you can put wood chips on the bottom. Don't mix it, but you can put wood chips on the bottom, anything, whatever I want. But this is all perfect, so I'm not going to do anything. So now we're going back to what do I do? For me, you know, we have gardens everywhere. The truck bed is getting a lot of sun, so I've got all kinds of Swiss chard, tomatillos that are dying out but still loaded with tomatillos, and then squash still growing in there. But it's getting all that sun. See the sun it gets, and this one doesn't because of the tree. So if I had no other garden, and this is all I was depending on, I definitely would have moved it. And where would I have moved it? Here. That's all I would have to move it. 20 feet over and reset it up, and you have a full winter garden to grow almost everything. The closer you get to the wall, the warmer it will be, and you would be able to grow a lot. The tomatoes would be ripening much faster than the way they're ripening now. And they're not ripening that good because of so much shade. I do pick some of them, put them on the windowsill, and they ripen within a day or two better. So there's a lot of options we all have. And that is an option for me. Now, you look at the hummingbird. I don't know if you can see him, but he's on the feeder. Being that I've got all these chairs, and I got them for free, and I do want to paint them. I've got all these ideas. I could temporarily grab some of the chairs and set up something here. I don't have to set up a lot, but just set up something here. Now, Gary gave me the okay to set up in his way. This is his driveway. He goes down to his garden that way. So what I would do, because he has to drive through here, because he likes to drive to his garden. I walk. So he drives down here. He drives through here, and see at the end there, he goes down, and then he goes down into his garden. It's a big loop. But he said if I set up everything here, set something up, and I move this, he'll drive around it. So my thoughts are, should I? And maybe I will. Just set up something quickly for fun, knowing I'm going to take it apart soon, because I want to paint up some chairs. I want to get them all fancy and have another garden over there next to that one. But there's so many chairs, I could do a really small garden just to get a few different things growing. And that would give so much sunlight to whatever I want to grow that even on the coldest days, as long as it's got some sunlight coming, because we'll have cold, cold days and still beautiful sun, that I could still be growing something. Maybe I'll plant some beets. Maybe I'll plant radishes and carrots in there. So I'm going to give it some thought and see what I want to do and how I want to set it up. I don't want to get too close. Now remember, we have to think about things. I don't want to get too close to this fence thing that Gary put up for me. That was to keep the rabbits out. They could jump it. You know, they don't though. And I do want to put totes in there for the spring, 1 or 2 in there. So I don't want to get too close to that because that gives more option for a squirrel to climb on that. He may be used to it and then jump on my chair. Because right now, I have never had a squirrel jump on these chairs. They're probably not used to the plastic. They don't know what it is. The other thing here that's a big benefit is look at the open sky. See the open sky? We've got the tree that's there. And we've got all this beautiful open sky. Now, why would I like the open sky? Not just because of the sun, but because it's open. Well, this is where the hawks fly by, the ravens, different things. And that's the last thing that a lot of your small critters want. is open sky, because now these hawks hang out on the wires and stuff, and if a squirrel, even the rabbits, come through here, well, they're easy picking, and they know it. If they don't know it, they're not around anymore. They don't last long. So that's another benefit for me. Now, I don't have to make a chair garden in a loop like that. My hose is there, so it's easy to just drag it here, and I could just line it up. That would be easy too, because then I could still service my wall and still water some of these plants and just walk down and do it that way. So maybe I'm actually thinking out loud with you, because I myself have not decided to do anything. All I did was stick some lettuce here the other day with a flower pot. Nothing's bothered it. The other day, look at the lizard on the wall. You see the lizard? Let's see. It's a baby lizard. Tiny, tiny, tiny little baby lizard. And just think, in a couple months, he's going to be so big, aren't you? Yep, he's going to be really big. They love the wall because it stays warm on cold days. See, I put 3 lettuce in here. Got 1, 2, 3. Lettuce, I'll have to show you, are so easy to move. And you move it, and you don't want to put too many. And you want to keep it well watered. Well drained, but well watered. If it dries out even once, it won't grow good anymore. It will try to go to seed. So maybe I will just line some chairs up, pull them a little bit away from the wire, and just line up some chairs, because this gets sunlight from early morning until late. And then by the time it sets, about 4:30, 5 o'clock, there's no sunlight. But that, see, we're standing out here, no sunlight. So it gets a little bit of morning sun. I can turn around and show you. Gets a little bit of morning sun that way, because the sun will come through. And then as the sun is moving, see where this, I don't want to put my camera up there, that's the sun. It's going to hang out behind this tree for hours. So I'm losing hours of sunlight. Now the tomatoes would benefit, peppers would benefit, the lettuce, everything would benefit with those extra hours. So I think now that I'm talking to you, and I'm saying it out loud, I'm going to set up some new chairs. I don't want to move this, but if you didn't have anything else, I would say move it if you wanted to. And if you didn't want to, so you don't have a lot of food for a few months, you can still cater to what you've got. I still have things growing in there, and there's always food I'm pulling out of there, but it's mainly, mainly a lot of greens. There's parsley growing in there and other things. But I am going to set up some chairs here, and I've got enough totes that I can put a few totes out here and see how it's going to work, and even some flower pots. I've been watering right now in November 2 times a week, and once in a while it's been 3 times a week. So between 2 and 3 times a week, and that's it. And it's literally walking through with a hose. Some of you have asked me why I don't have a drip system. First of all, to put in a drip system would cost a lot of money to put it in through all the plants everywhere in all the gardens. And number 2, I don't like a drip system. Number 3, my friend put one in, and it ended up getting chewed up by all the gophers and squirrels. My neighbors got one that got chewed up by the coyotes. So to be honest, a lot of these systems don't work for us. And then you do have to keep up with it. They clog. John Kohler, perfect example, who does have a drip system because he does a lot of traveling, has lost plants. He's talked about it because without knowing it, not being there, it didn't flow right. And if you're not checking it, it doesn't flow right, within a day or 2, you've lost your plant. I'm more, and so is Gary, a hands-on person. We want to water something. Gary planted a tree up there, and he goes up there and he just hand waters it once a week. We're more hands-on. I want to know what's going on, and the moment you don't know what's going on is really when you start to lose things. So that's my opinion. That is not in any way saying that you shouldn't put a drip system in. But for us, there is nothing more stress relieving than walking out in the garden. I don't know if you can see that. There's goldfinches up there getting ready to go take a drink out of the bathtub. Walking out here and watering in my garden and taking a deep breath and enjoying nature. And during these hard times that a lot of us are having, this has really been stress relieving. So without this, I'd have to find something else to do. So this does keep me busy. That needs to be trimmed. That eggplant has been struggling and suffering. I didn't plant it, came up from seed, but I've got tons of eggplant off of it. Right now they're turning yellow, so the plant is stressed. I'll probably trim it way back and see what happens. I have pulled a few purple ones off, but too many of them are yellow. And the other thing too, yellow eggplant is actually ripe. So what's happening with this is it's ripening right away. And that might be another thing that Mother Nature is trying to do, is to create seeds so it will reproduce in the spring, because they would just dry up, fall on the ground, and regrow. But we'll trim that back and we'll get some chairs set up. And hopefully in the next week, you'll see chairs. But just a thought, this is more of a thought for you. If you've got gardens and you are still in an area where you're not getting snow, but you have the capability of growing things like carrots and radishes and different things, then think about moving or setting up a temporary small garden. And it could be in flower pots. There's a lot of things you can use just to set something up small, so you can get a little bit of something, be it parsley or whatever, for the winter until we get into spring. So with that, hope I've given you some ideas, and I hope I've given myself some ideas. See how good the tomatoes are growing against the wall, and see how well they're ripening here. And keep in mind, the black ones behind me that I had showed you in my chair garden, they too are supposed to turn reddish, but they're having more of a tough time because of still the lack of sun. But these right away are ripening, and this one's in the sunlight, so it ripens much better. And yeah, that one's still trying to produce squash, so I may get some squash off of that. So I hope I have given you ideas, because I think you helped me give me ideas. With that, have a great day, and don't forget to eat what you grow. Bye, everybody. See, that's his driveway, and somehow I got to make sure that he can still get down there to his garden.